Welcome back to the Grim Workshop. Hopefully by now you've had a chance to make one of these improvised PVC survival bows. This is something that if you were in a urban or a rural situation, you would be able to make one of these using just a little bit of string and the card that you've got in your wallet. You can also make one of these at home, so you can make one just to expose yourself to archery a little bit and get to practice and develop some skills. And then you can better utilize some of those arrowheads that are on so many of the cards. But if wilderness was your thing and that was your primary concern, you could also pre-make these and use these either in your bug out vehicle. You could stash these in your bug out location. So a lot of reasons to make these. They're a lot of fun, and today we're going to improve upon that. So in that same video, I showed you how to make a broken arrow rest so you're not shooting directly off your knuckle. And these are pretty zippy bows. You definitely wouldn't want to stand in front of this thing. This will deliver a broadhead with quite a bit of velocity, but we're going to do a lot to increase the power of this. So these are traditionally about 27, 28 pounds depending on the pipe. So let's see what this one is. And that's about normal, about 27 and a quarter. So to increase the weight on this bow and make it more effective, we're going to utilize the fact that this is hollow, and we're going to take a little bit of our duct tape off our spool tool. You can use any card with a saw, but the saw is kind of optional for this. It depends on what end bow you're trying to build. But we're going to insert a couple fiberglass rods into this and increase the weight. This is what we're going to use for this video. This is a 1/4-inch fiberglass driveway stake. Now, if you're really lucky, you could find these, but I wouldn't count on it. This is something that if you are building your bow at home or if you're building your bow for your bug out location, let's utilize the best thing we've got available, and it's going to be this 1/4-inch rod. Now, any driveway marker that's fiberglass like this is going to give us some poundage increase, but we're going to base it off of this. So that's going to be ideal. But if you're improvising this, or you're on a really tight budget, or you're just looking for something fun to do on the weekend and don't feel like running out and spending any money, you can look around and there's probably something you can use for this. This is a fiberglass stake used to sweep a chimney. That might be something you can find. I've got an old broken fishing pole here. This absolutely is going to work. I would just knock the eyes off for this. If you've got any damaged or broken arrows, if this is broken or split, it's really not going to affect us. You can cut away the break and just use the good sections. Now you can also stack PVC, so you can get a smaller diameter PVC that's going to go inside that piece of 3/4, or if you've got 1-inch PVC that you're using for the basis for your bow, that's going to allow you to put more items in there to increase the poundage. So to increase the weight on your bow, you're really not going to need that many additional tools. We are going to be using tape off our spool tool, so any kind of duct tape is going to work for this, but it's just holding things together. It doesn't have to be that strong, and we're going to use that for a couple different reasons. So you can see here inside our 3/4-inch OD pipe that we're using for our bow, this has quite a bit of movement in there, and that is not going to work for us. So the first thing we're going to do once we decide on our bundle size is you're going to have to build up tape where this slides in and holds itself in under friction. So it's going to take a little trial and error. You're going to want to slide this in without a whole lot of effort, but what you don't want to have happen is anytime you move the bow for this just to be sliding around inside there. Now, the other use for the tape is you can put these in straight. So you can just bundle these together and tape it, and you're good to go. But you can also taper this, and you can layer it in. So if you can kind of understand this, it's going to be progressively stronger towards the center of the bow, and our rods are going to stack out towards when you get towards the tips. Now, obviously, it's got to be the exact same on both sides. You're going to have one limb strong in the other, and this thing is not going to shoot worth a darn. But once we cut our fiberglass stakes to length, if we choose to do that, we're going to put just a single wrap or two of tape just to hold these together. The bulk of our tape is just going to be to create that bushing where it slides in and fits under friction. So you can fit 4 of these inside that 3/4-inch pipe, and if this was me just building a bow in an actual emergency to shoot arrows for game or for protection, I would be really happy just bundling these things together, taping it up straight, and then just centering it up in the bow. But if you want to do as good a job as possible, we're going to layer these and we're going to taper them in. So we're going to lay this out. Remember, our bow is 60 inches. So it's going to look something similar to this. And if you go this route, our center stake is not going to be quite as long as the rest of them. So for your utmost performance, you're going to want to get a piece about 8 inches long. So you're going to go 4 inches for your handle section plus 2 inches. And what that is going to do is going to stiffen it. So this is going to get taped into place, but you're going to lose one of your more powerful full-length rods. So if you want to make one of these center sections, you can do that with a piece of dowel. It doesn't necessarily have to be fiberglass, but any of the saws are going to cut these fiberglass rods. This is not that difficult to cut at all. So this knife from the Bushcraft card has a saw back on it. I just grabbed Bonilla Thibodeau's card. So she's got a saw right along this edge here. Any of those saws are going to work. You're going to want to choose one with as fine a teeth as possible. You're thinking like hacksaw when you're cutting through this kind of material. So the stakes are 48 inches and my bow is 60 inches. So I'm going to come in 1 inch, and then to minimize cuts, I'm going to make a mark right at 10 inches. Now I'm going to stagger that and put a little bit of tape right there. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this black tape. I'm going to hold that right on the line and just give myself a wrap. Now I got this flipped around. I'm going to do the same thing right here. So I've got this put together. Now this is a 48-inch uncut piece. So this is our third stake in the bundle. And I measured this and kind of split the difference on each end. So this is about 4.5 inches. I'm going to get a little more black tape here and give this a wrap as well. Now for my last piece, I could go with one of these 8-inchers. This is a broken stake actually, so this is a pretty random length. But whatever you've got, you're just going to want to center it up and just measure in from each end. As long as it's dead center middle, it's going to work out just fine for you. So here's our bundle, and we're going to test fit it now, and you're going to either unwrap it a little bit and tear it, or you're going to build it up just over a couple key spots, just depending on how it fits. And it does not take a whole lot of duct tape to get this thing to fit pretty tight, especially on that 4-wrap bundle. And remember, this is just our example, so if you're more comfortable with a bow in the 30-pound range, then you're only going to need about 1.5 of these. So this is pretty tight right now, but this is about the fit you want. I'm going to slide it all the way in, and then we're going to center it up on both ends. So once you get one end in, just grab a stick or any old thing you got, and you're just going to want to press this in and try both ends. So that's within a 1/16 on both ends. So if you've got enough material, adding an extra wrap of tape along the entire length of this is going to also increase your weight. So I've made several of these no heat PVC bows, and they're pretty predictable as far as weight goes, but don't fight it. If you're having trouble getting that rod stack in, and just back the tape off. If it's slipping on you and it doesn't seem like it's holding in place, go ahead and just give it a little bit more tape. So if you just strung this up with the stronger rods in there and you've been shooting your bow, or maybe this is a new one, this string might have stretched under the additional weight. So you want to make sure you've got that fist mill distance. So from the back of our grip to our string, you're going to want about the distance of your fist with your thumb extended. If it's not, just take the time now to correct that. Now, this one's pretty stout here. So usually it takes a couple pulls to get the rods to settle in. You want to make sure your strings are holding. So this bow here is pretty stiff. You can feel it right away. And I have had a shoulder problem in the past. I didn't get to shoot at all last year. So this bow is probably going to be more than I can comfortably shoot. Let's see if I can draw it back. Yeah. That's almost 48 pounds, and I'm short on that. My left shoulder is the one that's injured. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty straightening it out. But that's a real bow there. That'll definitely put a hurt on some game. So we almost doubled the weight of our bow just by adding those rods. And this is tunable. This is a little bit more than I would use unless I was specifically taking this out to hunt with. That bow's flying right now. So if you want a little bit less, all you gotta do is take one of the rods out, or you could shorten the rods. So these are so inexpensive, you can make several and several different weights depending on how you're feeling that day. But this one will work. All right, I know what you're doing this weekend. Head out there and get shooting.